This first news story. Yuzu devs pay Nintendo $2.4 million, shut down the massive Switch emulator, declare we cannot continue to allow such extensive piracy and pull all code offline. This is written by Dustin Bailey over at Games Radar. So the original story, let's start with the original story. Last week, a new court filing says that the developers behind the popular Switch emulator Yuzu have agreed to pay $2.4 million settlement to Nintendo, and the not yet official final judgment suggests that the software itself is not long for this world. In a joint filing published today, Nintendo of America and Tropic Haze LLC, the company behind Yuzu, now consent to judgment in favor of Nintendo and jointly move the court to enter monetary relief in the sum of $2.4 million in favor of Nintendo and against the defendant. The proposed, I clicked on something I shouldn't have clicked on. The proposed final judgment and permanent injunction would have the Yuzu devs permanently barred from offering to the public, providing, marketing, advertising, promoting, selling, testing, hosting, cloning, distributing, or otherwise trafficking in Yuzu or any source code or features of Yuzu. The terms would also have the Yuzu website shut down and would have the devs turn over any physical circumvention device or modified Switch consoles to Nintendo itself. That judgment has again not yet been made final, but given that the filing was made jointly between lawyers representing Nintendo and Tropic Haze, it's safe to say that the future for Yuzu does not look bright. Emulation itself is not illegal. In fact, you can argue that the Switch itself is a massive emulator by Nintendo's own design. Nintendo's suit, that's a stretch.
What?
That's a stretch, Games Radar. I don't know about that. I don't.
Okay, continue.
Okay.
We'll circle back to that.
Nintendo's suit against Yuzu instead argued that the emulator illegally circumvents the Switch's game encryption keys and that the emulator helped promote 1 million illegal downloads of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom before launch. Ooh. All this is awaiting a judge's go-ahead, but notably a settlement would keep the case, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip this last part because here's the update. Later on the day, they got the update. On the heels of its settlement with Nintendo, Yuzu's development team released a public statement explicitly confirming that the emulator is dead and will soon be scrubbed from the internet. The timing and wording of the statement has raised eyebrows and alarms. Yeah, right. Among emulation enthusiasts, with many worrying that it's set a bad omen for the other emulator projects. The full statement reads, "We write today to inform you that Yuzu and Yuzu support of Citra are being discontinued effective immediately. Yuzu and its team have always been against piracy. We started the projects in good faith, out of passion for Nintendo and its consoles and games.
You probably did.
And we're not intending to cause harm. But we see now that because our projects can circumvent Nintendo's technological protection measures and allow users to play games outside of authorized hardware, they have this. Hang on, let me finish it, and then I'll say what I was going to say. They have led to extensive piracy. In particular, we have been deeply disappointed when users have used our software to leak game content prior to its release and ruin the experience for legitimate purchasers and fans. We have come to the decision that we cannot continue to allow this to occur. Piracy was never our intention." And we believe that was for all you audio listeners, that was a wink. And we believe that piracy of video games on video game consoles should end. Wink. Effective today. It doesn't say wink, but that's my editorial. Effective today, we will be pulling our code repositories offline, discontinuing our Patreon accounts and Discord servers, and soon shutting down our websites. We hope our actions will be a small step toward ending piracy of all creators' works. Thank you for all the years of support and for understanding our decision. Here's the deal. This statement was definitely written by a Nintendo lawyer, handed to Yuzu, and they're like, post this. And Yuzu's
we're going to add another million on there.
And Yuzu's like, we're already paying you $2.4 million. They're like, and then,
you want to pay
like, $3? We'll bump it. We can do it. We got you by the nards, dude. We can do whatever we want right now.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
All over. Now, before we get started, I can only speak for me because I don't know how you feel about it, Garrett.
Okay.
I am for emulation in the guise of for preservation's sake. Right? So here's where I land on it. If a company or a publisher or a developer does not make a game readily available for purchase on a modern storefront that they operate, if you cannot easily legally purchase the game, then I don't see why you wouldn't be able to get a copy and emulate it, right? Because if the company's not going to make it available to you, then what are you supposed to do if you want to enjoy the work?
Well, you got to spend like $600 on eBay for a copy, or
right,
more, like $1,000 depending on what it is. Like
exactly, which that company is not going to see any of.
Yeah, they don't see that anyways.
Right. So if the work is not readily available, if the game, whatever, is not readily available for purchase or easily obtainable, like without being, $800 like a Sega CD game is or something like that, then I see no problem with it. Especially for games that were made by developers who are out of business or publishers who are no longer here, that are not going to have any chance of coming back. Absolutely do it. Absolutely. But at the same time,
I agree with you. Yeah. And it's like if you can readily available, like if something's readily available on like a digital storefront, or you can go to Walmart and buy it, or even like if you can get it secondhand, but for, again, like, I can go to eBay and buy it like reasonably priced. But when it's like, you can't get it digitally, you can't buy it physically. And eBay is more like collector's items. Here you go, spend thousands of dollars to play this, whatever it is, like the sealed in box copy. I'm like, I don't want that. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to spend that much money. Like, it's stupid. Like, doesn't let me play the game. I'll give you $30. I don't know. Like, I kind of agree with that sentiment that like it, because it doesn't it doesn't change the bottom line for that company one way or another. Because even if I spend $1,000 on a game on eBay, they're not going to get any of that. So
right, and that goes for across the board. That's Nintendo too. For me, we just had a perfect example for Mother 3.
Yeah,
Nintendo put Mother 3 out in Japan, but they refuse to do it over here. They won't sell it to you on the eShop. They won't put it on Nintendo Switch Online. They never have since the game has come out in the early 2000s, and it doesn't seem like they're going to. So if you're not going to give it to me and I can't get it, I'm going to download it. I want to play it still. I don't understand what.
And I mean, it just the translate, like with that, it's just the translation. Cause you could get a copy of Mother 3, but it's like, all right, I can't understand it.
I can't buy one to own. It's long out of print.
Oh yeah. Same. Yeah, exactly. So it's like long out of print. And even if you could get your hands on a secondhand copy, it's like, all right, I can't understand this thing.
I can't understand it.
Like, I don't know what's happening.
So yeah,
man.
But, this statement from Yuzu is absolutely crazy. Because the one thing that about emulation is such a multifaceted area, in my opinion, right? Because Yuzu was like, "Oh, we didn't have any idea that we were circumventing software to get our emulator working." What are you talking about?
A wild statement. It's like,
what are you talking? How do
you know exactly what the type
you know
of people
exactly
using.
what you were doing?
Oh man!
And it's the only I guarantee you, Nintendo puts it in the EULA just like they have for decades now. The end user's license agreement that you cannot reverse engineer this software for any purpose or any use if you're not Nintendo or a Nintendo authorized entity to do so.
Right.
So. It's weird that these companies do that, and then people make emulators, and then Nintendo or Microsoft or whatever it is, they come and they say, "Yo, bro, we when you bought the system, that was you agreeing that you weren't going to do that," and then all the emulator people go, "What do you mean we could never do that? How dare you tell us what to do, bro? They didn't tell you. You didn't have to buy the console." You didn't have to buy anything.
Nobody reads the fine print, Adrian. Everyone just hits agree and moves on.
I know that, but I'm saying it's a license agreement. That means you agree not to do it. No,
it's still legally binding whether you read it or not.
Whether you read it or not, you agree by using whatever the software is. Yeah. So, you got to take it as a double-edged sword here, or I guess a multi-edged sword. So, was Nintendo wild and out of pocket for charging them $2.5 million? 1,000%. At the same time, they were also wild for getting a $30,000 a month Patreon and playing in Nintendo's face like Nintendo wasn't going to do anything about it.
Honestly, that's probably the biggest problem with all of this is like if it was just like an open source, which it was open source, but if they would just like left it like it's a free thing,
I don't think they would have been shut down.
I wonder if Nintendo would have just been like not happy about it, but just like
right.
They've ignored it this long.
We can do.
They've ignored it this long. They're probably just going to continue to ignore it. But the fact that, they freaking had a Patreon fired up so they could get people supporting them to keep making this thing and develop it further. It's like, oh, you were asking for Nintendo lawyers to come be like, hello, wakey, wakey.
It's like when matadors hold the little red cape in front of a bull.
Right.
That's exactly what they were doing with that Patreon. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Whatever this statement says, there's no way you didn't know what you were doing. You have to do that for any console. You have to reverse engineer the code. That's how you know how it works.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. Like, I'm guarantee you this statement was 100% like Nintendo lawyer. Like, here you go. Here's your statement for the day.
Right.
Just because if they even, I don't know. I mean, probably a mix of both. A mix between Nintendo's lawyers. Some statements you read it and you're like, oh, that's from Nintendo. And then honestly, like, that talking about the piracy thing too, like that was probably from their own lawyers, because if they admitted like, yeah, we knew what we were doing, like it wouldn't look very good legally, so they're probably like, we don't know. So
right,
absolutely crazy. But something I want to talk about, especially because I put it in the episode title for this week, so now we have to talk about it. This is a question I'm going to ask you. Are other emulators in trouble? Is this a sign for like, do you think there's a chance that PlayStation's all of a sudden over there, like Sony's like, oh, well, Nintendo just did it, like why aren't we doing it for the was it called PCSX or whatever, which is like the PlayStation 2, PlayStation, like wow, why aren't we doing it for that? Or like I don't know, there's like various other emulators that are out there. Do you think this could be a cause for concern for these other projects? Like, are they going to start like shutting things down or hiding things or just clamping down more or what?
No, because I don't think Sony or Microsoft, I don't think they're making nearly as much potential profit on their older library as Nintendo would have been. So, Sony lost the sale of some PS2 games that they could have sold on the PS4, PS5 store. Okay, well, we were only going to sell 10 of them anyway. Nobody's really playing PS2 games on PS4 and PS5 like that. Let's keep it real, right? The strongest one outside of Nintendo that would have a case would be Microsoft, because they have such a big backwards compatibility push, which they unfortunately ended recently.
Yeah, but there's no Xbox emulators out there anyways that work good, so I've never heard of a single person emulating an Xbox game. Let's be real. Like, people are emulating PlayStation games or emulating Nintendo games, Sega games, and everything in between. But Xbox, right. I don't know if I've ever heard of like an Xbox.
That's why they're not worried about it. That's why they're not worried about it, because they're like, well, nobody's emulating our stuff anyway. Who cares?
Who cares?
But yeah, I think Sony, their classic catalog is in modern day so minuscule compared to the sales that they're getting from PS4 and PS5. It's not even really worth going out. It would cost more in the legal process to take action than it would whatever profits they will receive from not having anybody download game, copies of their games.
Yeah, well, and what PlayStation is doing now is like a lot of those old random PS1 and PS2 games are showing up on their streaming service. Like if you have a PlayStation Plus account, like you can play them on there with the retro catalog or whatever. So that's what they're missing out on, is basically people buying out the top tier of their PlayStation Plus. What is it, like the Pro or Elite, or I don't even remember what it's called. There's like the 3 tiers, whatever the top tier is. They're losing subs on that in a sense, but I mean, yeah, it's like. But
the selection for that is so.
It is very small.
It's very small, and it's not all their greatest hits, right?
In fact, it almost seems like they're purposely picking all like the least
worst
favorite
ones.
Like I get an update every month for like, hey, new games being added, and if it's a PS4 or PS3 game, it's like, oh, okay, that's a decent one. But if it's like a PS1 or PS2 game, I'm like, I've never heard of that in my life. What is that game?
Hey, did you want to play Shuffleboard 94 from the PlayStation 2?
Yeah,
like,
sure,
bro,
thanks.
what are we doing? So yeah, if they're not even that enthusiastic about getting the library up there, I can't see them being much more enthusiastic about going after people who are, downloading games and playing them like that. if they weren't going to try to make money from it in the first place, you know.
I also wonder too, like, because a lot of those other projects, from what I understand, I haven't done extensive research, but like we talked about, Yuzu had a Patreon. A lot of those other ones, they may take donations and tips.
That's different.
But I can't think of another one that I've seen like a Patreon logo, like, hey, support us on Patreon or whatever. Like
doesn't Dolphin have a Patreon?
Oh,
the GameCube emulator?
Yeah, they might. I don't know. I don't remember seeing one, but they might. Man, if Dolphin got shut down, that'd be so sad.
That would be so sad, man.
That would be.
They just got Apple Silicon support going on, and I can run GameCube games on my MacBook like it's nothing. It's buttery smooth. I would hate for that to go, but this is another case, right? There's same thing with Nintendo. With Nintendo, where are the GameCube games at?
That's true. Well, they're re-releasing them in collections like that Super Mario collection or whatever, and like dumb things like that, or doing HD.
The one that they took away that they don't want you to buy.
It's exclusive. It was exclusive for like 4 months, or Pikmin when they did bring Pikmin 1 and 2 and stuff like that.
Just now, 6 years into the Switch's lifespan.
One thing,
and same thing with Metroid. 5 years into they're not serious about this.
No, Dolphin might be safe only because there already was a Tuffle last year, if you remember. They put Dolphin
it was trying to come to Steam.
On Steam, it was there for like a couple days, and then Nintendo's like, no, this isn't okay.
You're not doing this.
This is too easy. You got to make it at least hard for people. So it doesn't look like Dolphin has a Patreon either. I'm on their website. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. So the fact that like, that's so interesting because like Nintendo had every chance last August to be like, don't put it on Steam and we're suing you for $3 million. But they didn't. They just said, don't put it on Steam. And
don't do it.
Dolphin's like,
it won't be a dolphin anymore.
Dolphin's like, all right, cool. And they just turned around and like left, like, peace. So I don't know. I don't know why Yuzu is different. Like we said, other than the financial aspect of it, Yuzu was profiting from it more so than like if you go to Dolphin's site, there's nowhere on there about giving money, paying money, anything like that. There's a link to like a Discord. They have forums and stuff like that. But and I'm sure within those there might be like, hey, if you want to help out a little, like, but it's no like blatant like, oh, sign up to get exclusive stuff. Like that's probably what got Yuzu and Citra in trouble, I'm sure.
I don't know, man. That's just the thing that gets my goat. And they're probably gonna say, oh, you guys are bootlicking. I mean, I trust me, I'm not. I'm one of the farthest things from, right? But if you can't get mad when a company says don't do X with our stuff, and then you do X with our stuff, and then they come and say, we told you not to do X with our stuff, cut it out, you're done. And then the internet gets in a tizzy like they're this bully, right? No, they told you not to do it. They told you not to do it.
I mean, yeah, even like from the license agreement to, I mean, they've been getting on people for years, whether it's Dolphin, there was something with that Bowser dude too, right? Like what was he doing? I can't remember.
He was selling the mod chips.
He was selling mod chips. Switches. It's just like, all right, like everyone needs to chill out. Like, if something happens, like you can't be upset. You screwed around and you found out.
I'm not saying don't do it, because we do need a Switch emulator, because we do need to have somebody to be dumping these games for preservation. 100%.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
All I'm saying is the internet needs to stop getting mad when Nintendo comes and knocks on their people's doors and being like, bro, we told you to stop doing that. You're done. And then the internet goes, oh my God, Nintendo always does this. They always take away everybody's fun. It's like, no. We knew what we were doing. We knew what the risks were involved when we were doing this. You got to take the L and move on. Somebody else has got to pick up the torch and make their own, whatever the next emulator is.
And just to be clear,
don't act like we're the victims in this.
And just to be clear for the Nintendo lawyers, when Adrian says we, he's meaning the ambiguous like internet we, not us as Super Gamer Boys.
I do not know how to code an emulator, Nintendo. You are fine over here, okay?
Don't know how to do that.
I don't have $2.5 million to give you for nothing, okay?
I've not made any money.
have not made a
off of an
cent.
emulator, and I have not made any money off of dumping game, nothing
Just
like that.
for clearance sake.
Lindsay has a good point. Nintendo should have hired the Yuzu devs to come over and help them make a Nintendo license emulator.
Bingo.
There you go.
Apparently, there's a rumor that Nintendo was supposed to be trying to bring their games to PC. You know what team would have worked well on that software? The one you just sued for $2.5 million, Dumbo.
Yeah,
That's not how you do it.
Imagine if instead of suing them, they
hire them and make them their own division.
Or give them the option to give them the option to be like, hey, we're either going to sue you or you work for us, and this is what you're doing. And I mean, and maybe I'm sure there'd be to a certain extent a fine, but it's like, hey, we'll take a little bit out of your paycheck for a little bit, but we also own Yuzu, but we're not going to sue you $3 million. It's only like maybe a few $1,000s or something. Like,
you know what? I'd have taken that deal 10 times out of 10.
Been like, all right, sure, take the cut out of my paycheck and don't sue me, and you can have Yuzu. That's fine. Like, that's fine. Take it. Oh man, yeah, man. Imagine like a Nintendo license emulator. Like, here, play whatever you want. Although,
or their own launcher.
Right. Oh yeah, for just playing the games on PC.
Yeah,
so good. That would have been great. I mean, obviously that's like pie in the sky dreaming, but
I mean, word on the street is they're looking, they're talking it over.
Everyone else is bringing their games to PC. Nintendo's next. Nintendo's got to do something here. Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the whole episode, the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.